Today we're going to talk about the death of the persona. And when your soul refuses to perform, there's a moment in life that almost most people mistake for failure. It's a moment where things that once motivated you stop working, the conversations feel empty, the applause feels hollow, like there's nothing, no no joy to it. And the goals that you've chased for years suddenly just lose their meaning. And in that process, the person you've spent your entire life trying to begin to be begins to fall apart. And most of people, they're going to call this a crisis. But what if this is actually true awakening? Someone that I really, dive deep into their works is Carl Jung. And he spoke about something called the persona. It was actually a Latin word. And it was originally referred to as the mask worn by actors. And honestly, that sank deep into me because the a persona is a version of yourself that you create to be accepted by the world. And it's honestly the identity that you build to fit in, to survive, to belong. The tragedy that is after, like that comes after that, is wearing the mask long enough, you begin to actually believe that that mask is your face, truly. And you forget that you're even underneath it. You sacrifice your authentic nature in exchange for social approval. And that's something that a lot of people have no idea that they do on an everyday basis. You become a performer in your own life. You literally, eventually, that performance gets to a point where you just get so exhausted. And think of your life and your energy as a currency. Because every time that you actually smile when you're actually hurting or grieving, every time you say yes to anything that doesn't fulfill you and it drains your soul. And every time you even like suppress an idea or a dream that you've had, a truth, because you're afraid of what other people are going to think about it, you're paying a tax. And it's literally a tax on your spirit. Like I said, your energy, look at it as if it's a currency. You're paying a tax on your spirit and a tax on your authenticity, a tax on your future. And for years, some people have no idea that they live with a hidden deficit. And it's like you're literally borrowing energy from your health, you're borrowing energy from your peace, you're borrowing energy from your purpose, you're borrowing energy from dreams that never were pursued. And all of this whole thing that you're borrowing from is literally just to keep this mask into place. And eventually, something is going to happen that the subconscious is going to just close the account. It's going to become bankrupt, as I would say, spiritual bankruptcy, where your subconscious closes the account in the performance that you no longer can continue. Your soul is going to refuse to fund the life. It's going to refuse to fund that lie of that life that you're living. And suddenly you're going to find yourself very exhausted. And that once felt normal, you're going to sit in meetings or speak to people and feel disconnected. You're going to attend gatherings and small talk, and everything is just going to like feel heavy to you. You're going to look into the mirror on a daily, and you're going to feel like a stranger to even yourself. And I speak from this because I myself have gone through this upon my awakenings and everything that I've gone through. And it's not because you truly physically change anything when you look in the mirror and you see something different about yourself. It's honestly because the mass has become too heavy for your spirit to carry. And when it comes too heavy for your spirit to carry, to the outside world, it's going to look like burnout. People are going to say you lost your edge. They're going to say you're not yourself. But from a deeper perspective, this isn't failure at any sorts. This is rebellion. And this is a soul that's being on strike. And your spirit has realized that the vessel you've built for your life is too small for the person you're becoming. And Carl Jung, believed that these moments wasn't punishments. They were actually invitations, a divine intervention from a deeper self. And the totality of who you truly are. Your soul begins withdrawing It's investment from the old identity to the old life, the old story, the old mask. And because it needs that energy to go somewhere else, that currency, so it needs it to be canceled, truly. And it needs it for the emergence of the authentic self. Because this is why people often become indifferent to things that once, they truly cared about. And you stop obsessing over being like, you stop chasing validation, you stop living for applause, you no longer want to be around a yes men. And for the first time, you actually start becoming interested in truth. And this isn't the loss of social skills, truly. You have to know that. This is actually the birth of sovereignty and the birth of self respect and the birth of authenticity. And many of us who actually were conditioned from the childhood, it becomes something I would say the good child. Because the child who follows the rules, the child who fulfills the expectations of family, culture, and society, the child who earns love through obedience, but eventually it gets to a point where that identity begins to decay. And not because it's evil, not because it's incomplete or anything like that. It's honestly that your soul wants more goodness. It wants more than goodness. Your soul wants wholeness. And in order to get that wholeness, your soul is going to require integration, because that requires embracing the parts of yourself that you've buried and you've never actually dove into, because maybe it wasn't time to. And if this is happening to you right now and you're going through these things, this is your answer. And the dreams you've abandoned, the passions you ignored, the truths you refused to speak about, and a life you never even lived, Jung called this process individuation. And it's honestly the journey of you becoming who you actually are, not who the world told you to be, not who your parents told you or hoped you would be, not who the social media thinks you should be or rewards you for, but honestly who God created you to be. And here's what gets honestly uncomfortable. It's honestly because before expansion, it's going to come grief. And you begin mourning the person you never became, the risks you never took, the opportunities you passed on, and honestly, even the versions of yourself that you left behind. And this grief is not weakness. Trust and believe that. It's sacred. It's evidence that your soul is actually still alive. You're not dead. It's evidence that there's more within you that is waiting to be expressed. And because it's not expressed, you've hidden it for too long. And because every hidden thing inside and every unlived dream is a piece of actual gold, a piece of your authentic self, and eventually that gold demands to be reclaimed. And now is the time to reclaim your gold of the authentic self. And this is why the collapse feels so intense. The mask is breaking, and the false identity is dying. The old script is ending. And while it actually feels like you're losing it, you're losing power, you're losing everything. It's all crashing down. You're actually recovering. Truly. I hope you know that. You're actually recovering, and the power that was never in the mask, you'll realize the power was never in the mask. The power was always in the person beneath it. You don't need another role. You don't need another performance. You don't need another mask. You need truth. You need alignment. You need courage. And honestly, you need the courage to stand in the world without hiding behind titles, status, reputation, or even approval. The courage to be seen as you truly are. And because your destiny cannot be fulfilled while actually wearing someone else's face, the bankruptcy of the persona is not the end. It's honestly the clearing of the land before the palace is built. So if you are feeling disconnected lately and you've been questioning everything and you've been losing interest even in the life you built, do not panic. Don't panic. Because you're actually not broken. You're not falling. You're not failing. You're being dismantled so you can be rebuilt. you can be who you truly are. And that machine, which is your vessel, becomes silent. And when that machine becomes silent, and in the silence, the real architect finally begins to speak. And truly listen carefully. Your soul is calling you home. That's what's going on. Your soul's been calling you home. And now that I am going to release this to the world, I hope whoever comes across this, truly hears me out and listens and understands this is not the end. This is just the beginning.